Hello, Michelle, and welcome to the World Vegan Travel Podcast.
Hi, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to join you today.
I am very pleased to have you on to talk about a beautiful destination. We have had an episode on this before, but we can always do a refresh, and that is San Diego and all of the amazing, incredible stuff that's happening in San Diego. I'm sure it's going to inspire the listener to do a trip down to San Diego. So, Michelle, before we dive into San Diego and what it is that you're doing, can you introduce yourself to our listeners in your own words, who you are, what you do, and what Viridian Productions is all about?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So yes, my name is Michelle May. I am the director of Viridian Productions, a sustainable event production company that's based in Encinitas, California, nearby San Diego, and been producing fully vegan events for the past 6 years. We just hit our 200th event, which is very exciting. And we are really just figuring out all kinds of ways to get pre-vegans out there trying vegan food and learning about vegan resources and having a lot of fun along the way.
That is amazing. 200 events in 6 years. That is wild. I think we're going to hit our 50th vegan group tour at the end of this year. So wow. 200, I just can't even imagine.
It's really a pleasure, and I'm sure you can attest as well. It's truly a pleasure to be able to support yourself in a vegan industry. There's very few people that can have the ability and the privilege to do that. And so I think we're both very lucky to be in that space.
So what originally drew you to the world of event production? Because even though it sounds very glamorous, I know for a fact that it is quite hard work and it requires a unique skill set that some people just don't have.
I really kind of just fell into it. It certainly wasn't my intention. The funny thing is I actually did quite a bit of event production in my 20s. I worked for, my family had a big event production company. And so I did a lot of large level events with them, just sort of making some money while I was in college, never dreaming that that would actually be my career 20 years later. I started out in web design and development, did that for a while, transitioned into wellness and culinary about 10 years ago, and made this transition into event production really fully in 2021. That happened sort of by way of just being truly my own target demographic. I had the opportunity to go to LA and visit some really amazing vegan events and got very inspired there. And then just wanted to bring something like that to San Diego, truly for myself, so I didn't have to be driving up to LA. So I started this company on a very small scale, just doing one event a month in Encinitas. And now we've grown to 3 monthly events, plus a handful of big festivals throughout the year. So definitely have come a long way in that time.
Wow, that is a huge amount. I bet you have got some amazing procedures and policies in place.
Lots of spreadsheets.
Okay, yeah, I can relate for sure. So for vegan travelers who may not yet have San Diego on their radar, what makes it such an excellent destination for plant-based travel?
Well, I'll back up and say the same thing that makes it a great destination for plant-based travel is the same thing that makes it a great thing for plant-based planning of events. One thing that I've come to appreciate living here after doing some research and sort of exploring the possibility of expanding these events to other destinations is just how truly blessed we are here in San Diego with our weather. You know, we're one of the few spots in the entire world that can truly do outdoor events comfortably all year. It's really remarkable. You know, there's not very many places where you can have open air festivals and markets year round. And so that's one thing that I think has definitely helped me grow the company faster than had I been somewhere that was, you know, more seasonal. And so for a traveler coming to San Diego, they truly have the luxury of coming year round because there's something going on here all the time since we are just blessed with such great weather perennially.
Yeah, I have been to San Diego only for a couple of days and I was astonished by the climate. Having driven from Los Angeles and going through the desert, and it was really quite hot and uncomfortable. And then we hit San Diego and I was like, what is happening? What is this place?
Yeah, you know, I mean, like every place, we definitely have our weather, and we just went through a really rainy, cold spot last week, but it was 83 today. So it's definitely a place that inspires a lot of healthy living. I think that's another thing that's really made this such a destination for these types of wellness and health oriented events, is that there's a true desire from people that live here to have that healthy lifestyle. And of course, plant-based eating is a big part of that. And so we're able to capture a large part of the demographic, the mainstream demographic, with fully vegan events, because there is so much interest in people that are pre-vegan and eating this type of way. You know, I think a lot of people are starting to realize it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I think people are really excited about dipping their toe in the water. One thing that's been very exciting for me to witness as a vegan for the past 15 years is that switch of the word vegan going from something being sort of derided. People will be like, ooh, you're vegan, to more of an aspirational, like, ooh, you're vegan, like interested. Maybe they're not ready to go vegan, but they're very interested in a positive sort of way. And so with my events, I've certainly been able to capitalize on that.
Amazing. And I imagine that you have some events that are bigger than others. Which are the key events that maybe vegans might want to time their visit to San Diego around?
Well, there's a few that stick out. We are very lucky here in San Diego. We have the world's biggest all-vegan Earth Day celebration. That happens at Balboa Park. Yes, that's our San Diego EarthFest, which is coming up in just a little under 2 months. That's on April 25th this year. So that one is a really exciting event for me to produce personally, because we do have such a large crowd that comes, and very few of the people that attend that event are vegan. It's just that event really draws people who are wanting to improve the way that they are interacting with the planet, but they don't have the resources yet. So it's really an exciting opportunity. People are coming, obviously, if they're coming to an Earth Day event, they're very open-minded and wanting to receive that information. And so I love that opportunity to give people the tools they need to live that Earth Day mentality 365, you know. And so that one is really exciting to me from sort of an activist mentality of really wanting to see more people adopt a plant-based diet and to live in a more vegan way. And so if that one's too close for people and they're not able to get their plane tickets in time, another one that's coming up that's very exciting is San Diego's first Veg Fest, Diego Veg Fest. That's going to be happening September 26th. That event will be just a celebration of all things plant-based. So we're going to have a ton of great speakers. Of course, the food will be amazing, and really just inviting everybody in the region to come celebrate all the plants.
I love it. And so you've got lots of speakers. You've got, I'm guessing, I've been to a few Veg Fest before. You've got lots of stalls for food, etc., and maybe some entertainment as well.
Yes, definitely. All of that. You know, it's the kind of event, it's held in a beautiful spot called Balboa Park, where EarthFest has been celebrated for the past 30 years. So it's nice to be able to sort of inherit this destination, since we took over the event 4 years ago. And then San Diego Veg Fest will be in that same location. Imagine sitting in the most dreamy location under the trees with all of your besties, eating truly the best food in San Diego. And yes, all the vibes. We have amazing food. We have pigs coming through. We have, of course, great activism. There's a lot of information for pre-vegans and for people that are already vegan wanting to take it deeper, a wellness zone, kids activities, really something for everybody at both of those events.
I love it. And I guess, is there an entrance fee into the Veg Fest? No,
we really try to keep our events very affordable for vendors and attendees. I'm very proud of the fact that I haven't raised vendor fees once in 6 years. They stay the same for all of our markets, and same thing for attendance. We are dipping our toes out into some smaller ticketed events, but these festivals and markets, we're very much committed to keeping them free to the public, because that's the best way to really draw people in and to get people interested in what we're doing.
What is your expected attendance, or what was your attendance like in the Veg Fest in 2025?
So for EarthFest, we had about 15,000 people last year that came through. Yeah, it's a pretty big event. That's our biggest one currently. So that one is a 6-hour event. And so we're hoping to have something close to that for Veg Fest this year, but we'll see, how the turnout is. It is the only Veg Fest that's currently left in the region. There's currently not a Veg Fest in LA or in Orange County. And so we're hoping to have it be a really big regional celebration.
Fabulous. Well, I wish you all the luck with that.
Thank you.
So you have these 2 events that we've already talked about, but you also have a third, the Oceanside Sustainable Food Festival. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So this event is our biggest event in North County, San Diego, which is where I'm based. A lot of action happens, especially in the vegan world, in San Diego proper. And so we try to give the North County folks some love by having a nice event up here as well. So Oceanside, for anyone that hasn't visited San Diego, is absolutely a place that you would want to check out. Even though it is about 45 minutes without traffic from the airport, it's certainly worth the drive for anyone that's visiting San Diego. It's just a really eclectic, cool place that is still kind of finding its place, but it's changed so much in the past 15 years that I've lived in San Diego and has become a real mecca for some great vegan food. The place I'm planning to go celebrate my birthday next week, the Plot, is in Oceanside, and a handful of other really great vegan places. And so it's a spot where it seemed like a really natural fit for us to have an event that is fully vegan, but that still draws a really mainstream crowd. And so that one, I'm very excited. This is the first time that we've held it in the middle of the summer. So yeah, it's a very tourist heavy area, especially in the summer. So we're excited to introduce some new people to plants, hopefully this year at that event.
I love it. And even if people do miss coming to the 3 events that you've talked about, their timing just doesn't work. You also have those monthly events as well that yes. I guess most visitors to San Diego would maybe are just going to coincidentally be there when that event is happening. Can you tell us about those monthly events?
So we have 2 night markets and 1 day market that happen every month. The 2 oldest ones have been happening for 4 years, the North Park Sustainable Market and the Vista Sustainable Night Market. Those are both 4-hour events, as well as our newest one, the San Diego Vegan Night Market. Those are all 4-hour events that feature a rotating, diverse lineup of vendors from all around the region. And they're a super fun community experience where you can really connect with the vendors, but also meet new friends. They all feature entertainment, live music, games. With the North Park event, I always have a community tie-in. One thing that I've found that's really important to growing my events with a limited marketing budget is to do a lot of collaborations. So I'm constantly reaching out to groups that are not necessarily within the vegan sphere, because that really benefits our vendors and the events themselves, because we're constantly adding new people into the mix and attracting new members in different communities to come out to our events. So this month in North Park, we're doing an art walk where we're going to have 40 local artists set up during the event. We had a big Valentine's Day roller skating party last month. Do a lot of big adoption events with, 10, 12 rescue groups on site. So there's a lot of that goes on, and it's really key. And I would highly recommend to anyone that's working in the vegan space, got to network, you got to collaborate outside of the vegan world, because there's just not enough of us to have that big mainstream impact, if you're not engaging groups outside of the vegan community.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I love this idea of the adoption things and all of these animals. I mean, I would just go just for that. I would make a trip to San Diego just for that, to have all of the kittens and the puppies and other animals there that are just looking for a home. That would be the cutest thing. It's
the best. At the last super adoption, the county of San Diego came and they brought 5 baby piglets that were ready for adoption. They were like literally 20, 30-pound piglets. They were the cutest. But yeah, we generally always have adoptable animals at our events. I make a lot of effort to have as many rescue groups at our events on a regular basis as possible. Dog adoption, dog rescue is a big passion of mine, and something that I want to do when I grow up. I would really love to have a dog sanctuary, dog rescue. So until I can do that, I try to support as much as possible our primary partner, Away Home for Dogs. I highly recommend anyone that is into dog rescue to look them up. Babs Fry is a local legend, just had a documentary made about her. They come to all of our events with adoptable dogs, have never missed one North Park event in 4 years with adoptable dogs at each one. And so it's really been impactful to getting these dogs out of shelters, out of foster homes, into the public so that people can see them. Same thing with the cats. We have our newest rescue partner, Desert Catopia, is a cat rescue mobile. One that is interested in cat rescue mobiles, they have to see this thing. Just go to Instagram, Desert Catopia. They came to our North Park event this past fall, and in the course of 4 hours, adopted out 7 cats, which still blows my mind. These were people that had no intention of going out that day and adding a cat to their family, but they did. And it just shows the power of really trying to promote rescue at any possibility. You know, anytime we have the option to promote these things, I think it behooves us to do so. And so anyone that has a small business or an event type business, you know, really just for your own benefit too. I mean, these rescue groups also bring lots of volunteers that come and eat and buy things at my events. So it's not a completely altruistic thing. But, you know, like veganism, it benefits everybody when you're doing the right thing. And so I feel like that's something that differentiates my events from others, is that there is that really strong rescue component at all of them, from the smallest to the biggest one.
I love it. So coming down to San Diego is fantastic for these incredible events. And, you know, you already touched on the weather. What are some other reasons why people would like to consider going to San Diego? Maybe we can talk about your favorite restaurants first.
Well, before I forget, let me just also mention, in case people have never seen a picture of San Diego, it is absolutely beautiful here. I mean, it is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. It's just this beautiful mixture between like tropical and desert. And because of the amazing weather that we always talked about, there's just always flowers out. And it's just a really lots of different terrains, very diverse. You've got the mountains nearby. You've got the desert. You've got Mexico. There's just so many things to do in this very, you know, kind of small area. So that alone is reason to come visit. But yes, then when you add the restaurants into the mix, you've got to come. So I end up eating with a lot of my vendors, of course, because I'm at these events a lot. And so some of these vendors have restaurants as well. Most of them are smaller, and this is sort of a trajectory for them to maybe get a restaurant or to get a food truck. So when I'm at the events, I tend to try to eat a little bit on the healthier side. And most of the food, of course, is a little more on the indulgent side. When I find vendors that are able to really keep the crowd satisfied with healthier food, that to me is the most impressive thing. We have one, Vegan Mirai. They do like 12 or 15 farmers markets a week. So you can pretty much find them any day of the week in San Diego. The thing that I love about them, and that so many people love about them, is it's just whole foods. So they have a torched scallop roll, but it's literally just a trumpet mushroom that's been torched with a little handheld device. And it's magical. It's just to be able to do those kind of things with just plants is truly an alchemy that I think most people don't appreciate. Another one is El Ticaro Vegano. You know, we have a lot of Asian food and a lot of Mexican food in San Diego. And so you'll find a lot of that at our events. So El Ticaro Vegano, another one that's, you know, taking plants and transforming shiitake mushrooms, jackfruit, and using these preparations like Vegan Mirai that are ancestral and that are traditional, but sort of putting it on its head by doing it with plants. And so those are definitely when I'm eating at the events, that's what I go for. But when I'm not working, because I am a serious foodie, I do get out a lot and try a lot of the local cuisine. I try to stick with mostly vegan places. We don't have a ton of fully vegan places in North County, unfortunately. But my favorite one, which has locations in both San Diego and North County, is Peace Pies, a place unlike any other. I don't think there's really anywhere else like in the world. 15, 20 years ago, there was lots of raw places in Los Angeles, but it's kind of a trendy thing that went away, unfortunately. Raw
I remember those times.
Yes, there was so much back then. And Peace Pies is really the only one that's left. And their food is absolutely incredible. I mean, they're works of art, but everything is just very fresh, made from scratch. I had a steak burrito last week that was like walnut steak and jicama rice and a coconut tortilla and cashew crema. It's just like all of the flavors, but then, if you would eat a conventional steak burrito, you'd probably want to go take a nap or something. Best case scenario. Whereas, this is food that's alkaline, that is, high vibration, that's got a lot of enzymes. It's got a lot of things that your body really thrives on. And so, yeah, Peace Pies is one that I would say is a cannot miss. And fortunately, because they have those 2 locations, pretty much anyone that's visiting the San Diego area should be able to work that into their schedule.
Awesome. Any other recommendations, or are they the outlier ones?
There's so many, like I said up here, there's not a ton. The Plot, which is another one that does everything from scratch and is very much whole food based, is another one that's just absolutely amazing. The Plot in Oceanside, that's another one that's kind of a do not miss. And then on the other end of the county, back down in San Diego, probably my favorite place is Kindred. Kindred just celebrated their 10th anniversary, which is no small feat for a fully vegan restaurant. Yes, and they are thriving. And, they're somebody who I really look to as a role model in the vegan industry, as a local company that's made it, that's been very successful. It's had a lot of partnerships with big institutions like Coachella. When I go in there, I'm thinking probably hardly anyone in here is vegan. They've never promoted as vegan. They don't really have anything that would let you know overtly that it's vegan. And I think that works for them. And I think that's something that we're seeing as a trend, that maybe newer vegan businesses or vegan businesses that are recalibrating may be shedding that strictly vegan image. That doesn't mean they're not vegan anymore. For instance, my company was originally called Vegan Food Pop-Up Events. I made that switch about a year and a half ago to Viridian, because it just felt limiting, because vegan can be appealing, but it can also not. Maybe 1% of the population identifies as vegan, but damn, nearly everybody thinks they're sustainable, or at least wants to be. It's just like really just capitalizing on making people feel welcome and being inclusive. And, I make it really clear to anyone that asks that we are still a fully vegan company. If you fill out my vendor application, there's about 50 things on there that you're not allowed to bring. Always adding to that list as people come up with new ones. You got to know, as a business owner, the vegans will find you if they're vegan. We ask, we're the ones that are sending the DMs and looking on the menus online and doing the research. And that's not really, you should be targeting your hard-earned marketing dollars to. It's the mainstream people that are going to make or break your business. And that's really who you have to engage if you're going to be a sustained business. And I think that Kindred is really a shining example of that. And hopefully we see more restaurants like that. I know there's been a lot of moaning and sadness lately from people who feel like, oh, where are all the vegan restaurants going? All the vegan restaurants are closing. And really see it that way. Restaurants are a very hard business. They have a shockingly high turnover rate anyways. But I think what you're seeing more than anything is that veganism is becoming mainstream. And you'd be hard pressed to go anywhere that doesn't have a pretty solid vegan option on salad and French fries like back in the old days. So I feel like that's the reason that vegan specific restaurants that aren't appealing to mainstream crowds are not able to stay in business. But you've got plenty of examples. Veggie Grill, I love Veggie Grill. Veggie Grill, since they were purchased by Next Level, has just done this 180, and it's amazing. And I feel like it's a business that definitely attracts the mainstream. And they've got veggie in the name, but they're doing something that attracts mainstream crowds. And I feel like that's the thing that all vegan business owners need to do if they want to stay viable and they want to stay relevant.
Yeah, I think these days things change more and more quickly. If you snooze, you could very well lose. It's unfortunate because just keeping the status quo can be hard enough, but yeah, it's just the reality that we live in, sadly. So outside of delicious restaurants and your festivals, obviously there are so many things to do in San Diego, like cultural activities and maybe hikes in nature in the surrounding area or within town. So maybe let's start with San Diego City proper. What are some really cool sites can people visit within the city?
One thing that I think people can take advantage when they're in San Diego that they may not be able to in other parts of the country or parts of the world is the sanctuaries. We have farm animal sanctuaries, bird sanctuaries, small animal sanctuaries. There's a little bit of everything all around the county. One that comes to mind is Farm Animal Sanctuary, which is in Campo, which is probably about 40 minutes outside of San Diego, but absolutely worth the drive. You have to make an appointment or catch one of their events, but there is nothing like hanging out with some goats for a few hours. And so that's something that I highly encourage. There's so many there's a canid sanctuary in Palomar Mountain, which is kind of the other end of San Diego. So there's a lot of really, if you're into animals, there's a lot of really great ways to truly support places that are helping animals. Unfortunately, SeaWorld is still in existence, despite the intentions of lots of very, very adamant protesters still protesting. But fortunately, there's a lot of great opportunities to support animals as well while you're here. That's probably my number one suggestion. But of course, hikes. Oh my gosh, there's so many hikes. There's so many great places to go. It's such an abundant city. I mean, especially as a girl who grew up in rural Texas, I still am not used to it. I still have so much gratitude, even after living here for 15 years. I have so much gratitude for the beauty, for just the plethora of things to do. There's always something going on. We have a very active, if you're ever visiting San Diego and you want to get the inside scoop, we have a very active Facebook group, San Diego Vegans group, got like 14,000 members that people love to chime in and give you their opinions on. So if you're ever looking for help with your itinerary, that's always a good start for suggestions from people. But really utilizing your Happy Cow app and getting on social media is a great way to find sort of hidden gems. But there is just no limit of things to do. Sometimes we kind of run out of things whenever it's raining outside. Fortunately, that doesn't happen too often. But we do also have Balboa Park, which in addition to hosting the EarthFest and the Veg Fest is also just an incredible place with so many museums, so many cool little galleries and things to do. So yeah, if you're ever visiting San Diego and either trying to get out of the sun for a little bit or out of the rain, definitely Balboa Park is a day where you could just spend the entire day, if not several, exploring so many great places and so many cool things. There's also a lot of theater here, a lot of live music. And so, yeah, you definitely have to be selective when you come here because there's no shortage of fun things to do.
If I remember well, you've kind of got you've got the ocean, of course, and then you've got the desert, and then you've got some rivers as well. So I imagine that there's a lot of wildlife that you can see in San Diego as well. Like maybe it's great for birds, and I'm thinking sea lions maybe. And
yeah, sea lions. Yeah, the La Jolla sea lions are definitely legendary. They're very smelly, but as long as you don't care about that, they are fun to go see. And yeah, there's a lot of controversy around that because some people like to go and get a little too close to them. But it's nice to see, actually, as a vegan, it's nice to see like in the mainstream press how much pushback there is towards anybody that, that threatens them at all or bothers them at all. And so it gives you hope that maybe one day we'll approach all animals like that and treat all animals with such respect and reverence. But yeah, the sea lions have their spot in La Jolla. Nobody's taken that over. So that's always fun to go see. There's just also, it's just such a beautiful quiet area, especially once you get into North County. There's so much green space and so much space that has been intentionally allocated to preserving. I'm a big fan of the app All Trails because it's just the quickest way to see what's around because there are so many hikes, especially as someone who lived previously in more really rural areas where there wasn't anything going on, like outside of Houston. And then I also lived in Cleveland, Ohio for 10 way too long years and, in a more urban area. And so now living here, it's just incredible how many literally can be 5 minutes outside of a populated area. And it feels like you're just on another planet. So that is one of probably my favorite things about San Diego is just the proximity to so many different environments because you can be on Mount Laguna or in the desert, sort of in the same amount, or the beach, the same amount of time and have these radically different experiences. And so that's something that could be very tempting for someone that wants to come visit is to just go. You can go to be in Palm Springs within 2 hours, which is a very vegan friendly area. You can be in LA within 2 hours. So there's so many places you can go, but My sense is that if anyone's coming for less than like 2 weeks at the very least, I don't think they'd want to leave San Diego proper because there's just truly so much to do. And I've got events going on almost every week. So I'll pretty much always have something.
You've got to stay at least a week so that you can experience at least one of Michelle's events.
Yeah.
So obviously San Diego is a big city, and I'm imagining a lot of people are coming from far. Maybe they're not in their car. So how can people get around? Do you have a public transit system?
Yes. Well, it is Southern California, so it is a huge car culture. However, I will say that it is fairly easy to get around using the train. We do have a great coastal train that, in addition to being pretty convenient in terms of times and stops and things like that, is absolutely lovely because you're pretty much right along the coast most of the time. So it's just a wonderful way to explore not only San Diego, but this train network can actually take you all the way up the coast. Wonderful way to go visit LA or Orange County because you don't have to contend with all the traffic, notoriously crazy traffic that we can have in this region. It's also much more eco-friendly. So the train, the coaster, is definitely the best way to get around through the coast. Of course, Uber and Lyft are very easy to access here. If you're down in San Diego, there's a great trolley system that interfaces with the bus system and with the train. So if someone did want to come visit and didn't want to rent a car, they might have to utilize an Uber or Lyft a little bit, depending on how far inland they want to go. But if you're staying close to the coast, it's actually surprisingly easy to get by.
That's some great tips there.
I know we were talking before, you mentioned that you actually have visited San Diego before, I think maybe about a decade ago. What were your takeaways from that trip?
Yeah, well, we did that trip. It was a really, really fun trip. We were on a road trip with my partner, Seb, and my brother, Jack, and another friend of mine, Maya. We were on a road trip down the west coast of the United States then up through the middle of Utah and things like that. So I think we only spent 2 nights in San Diego. And my memory was, I do remember, now we're talking about the sea lions, I do remember the sea lions, and I just remember the beautiful weather and just how it was so nice compared with the desert. I'm not a huge desert fan. I'd much rather have like a little bit more humidity or not so dry or brown. So I guess those are my big takeaways. I can't really remember the restaurants that we went to. I'd have to dig in and look at my photos, but I did really have such a nice time. I think I may have said to Seb, how can we make it happen and live here? Like I did a lot back then. Now I'm in Squamish. I don't have that desire so much, but I was definitely very taken with it.
Yeah, well, that would be quite the road trip from Squamish to San Diego.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Michelle, I want to thank you so much for being on the World Vegan Travel podcast. If people would like to follow Viridian events and learn about what it is that you're doing, could you let our listeners know how they might find you?
Yes, of course. They can visit our website, viridianproductions.com. They can also find us on social media at Viridian Productions SD on all the socials. And we also are very active on Eventbrite. So if you're trying to see what we have going on, that's the best place to see all of the upcoming events that we have. And welcome anyone that's planning on making a trip to San Diego to reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you one-on-one. Love talking about vegan food and happy to do it anytime.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And good luck with your event. It's the Earth Day one,
Yes,
right?
San Diego EarthFest on April 25th.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.